What's going on, guys? It's your favorite, uh, Casper impersonator. And today I wanna talk about being ghosted. Now, being ghosted, I feel, is like one of those universal experiences of modern life, especially modern dating and like friendships and stuff like that. Um and yeah, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I've been ghosted countless times, and I've ghosted people also countless times. Now, I try not to do it that much anymore because I'm an adult, and I know a lot of people disagree, but unless you feel like your life is actively in danger, or like people will start yelling at you or whatever, because I do know that's something that especially a lot of women go through on online dating and stuff like that, as well as just generally creepy behavior. It's less for men, but as a man I've also had to um do ghost because of that as well. Either they were coming on too strong, or like, I don't know, I was getting really like, I'm trying to honey pot this cripple vibes from, or like become or take advantage of him for his supposed money vibes from a lady. Uh in which case, yeah, I have no problem with blocking and ghosting, but that's very um different. I'm talking about like maybe you did progress past the quote unquote talking stage. Maybe you met uh a couple times even. But it just didn't work out. Either one of you wasn't feeling it, whatever, or like maybe you uh just are not in the same life stage circumstances, whatever, man. In that case, yeah, I do think that people owe each other um the the requisite, or the communication of saying like, hey, I don't think this is working out. I either would not like to communicate with you any longer, or I'm gonna leave the ball in your court. Because that's another thing, guys. Like, you know, I've recently, and I made a video specifically about this, have been trying to be more assertive and trying to not let my relationships be so one sided where I'm always initiating. So I literally have told some people recently, like, hey man, so I hope you're doing well, whatever, and like, I feel this relationship is kind of one sided, so I'm gonna like stop um communicating with you, and I'm gonna let you initiate. Like, if you wanna talk, you're gonna have to contact me first, because I feel like I'm doing too much and I'm not getting uh a requisite amount of like reciprocation. It feels like maybe I'm bothering you, or that you're busier than I expected, and it's just that it doesn't have to be mean. It just has to be direct to the point, proper communication. and you know, just let them be after that. That's what I found to be the most helpful, let's say. Um but yeah, man, and I do that again because, like, I'm not a teenager anymore. I'm an adult. And I feel that it's important to be clear with people about your intentions and stuff like that. And to be honest, guys, I do think that in the modern era, ghosting someone that is not, like I said, an immediate threat to you or something, or gives off um like creepy vibes, is one of the worst things you can do to a person, to be honest. Because, like, yes, that person will eventually stop thinking about you. Um, but, like, as someone who's had it happen to him probably hundreds of times in the roughly 4 years I was on dating apps, and I've talked about this before. I was literally on most of them, bro. Um, it's just so devastating because you don't know what happened to that person. You'll never know. And, like, yes, I've learned that you have to be okay with that, but it's just such a brutal cutoff. At least, you know, usually if it doesn't work out with someone on a date, you can usually, you've still seen them, right? That that they're probably okay. But if it's just a talking stage and you guys don't even get to go out and that just ends up happening, it's like, what if they passed away? What if the worst, obviously that's not the case in most situations, but, like, you never know, man. And I just think it's so crappy to not, like, at least tell someone, like, hey, like, I've decided to go with this. Does it hurt? Does it hurt? Of course not. But I've always respected um a person that does that, or that slowly walks away and doesn't just abruptly do it. I have had to do that recently with um a friend slash, at least emotionally, a situationship of mine. I'm not gonna get into too many details, but, like, yeah, we used to video chat quite a bit, and then something happened between us again, where they betrayed my trust a lot, and I sincerely tried to regain my trust in that person over the course of a year. um and honestly, in the end, I just couldn't. So when they suggested that we take a break from our usual video chats and stuff like that, I and they suggested originally just for a month, but I was like, hey, man, um I I don't really feel like doing this anymore, period. But I'll still write to you, every month or so to check in. Um and then when I started doing that, yes, they would respond, but it was very cold and, very just weirdly distant. Um Despite the fact that, we were only ever just friends, or very, very close friends, you could just say, um, on her initiative, by the way. Um, and, I kept this up for 4 months up until the new year, until I just kind of told her, like, hey, um, um, like, you know, from this point forward, like, I'm proud of all the progress you've made in this new year, but, like, I'm not gonna continue to check in on you monthly. If you want to talk to me, you'll have to write to me. You'll have to initiate first. Um, and you know, um, once again, I gave an honest shot at reconciliation, but the betrayal was just too much for me, honestly. And I told her that. I told her that earlier on, but I still feel like that's the best way. I clearly communicated to them what it was that needed to go down. There was no need to ghost them right away and not explain myself. Because again, I just think that's crappy behavior. Um and there was another example for me where it was the lady that took my innocence. She got back with an ex. Um and she kind of did the same thing to me, except that she actually did end up ghosting eventually. Like, her communication became more sporadic and eventually just kind of stopped altogether. And I haven't spoken with her um in almost 3.5 years at this point. And the last time I saw her was back in 2021, when we weren't uh together like that anymore. Uh I mean, I in the beginning it really did affect me because the ex that she went back to was not a good guy. And I know people do change, but it wasn't necessarily the best omen. And, like, we got into a fight about that. Like, bro, if she had um been with a completely new person, I would have been fine with that. But someone that had a history of hurting her, I was pretty mad about that. And then, it affected my sleep for a long time. But in hindsight, even though I disagree with her ghosting me the way she did, um, and not being like straight up, like saying, hey, I'm gonna ghost you now. I really don't think my ex or boyfriend or whatever would like this. I still do appreciate that it didn't happen right away, and I learned from that. Like, yes, I needed to be more clear, but she didn't just um do it like abruptly. The communication started to like wind down, whereas she used to text me every single day. um she just started texting me like once or twice a week, and then once a week, and then it eventually stopped altogether. Again, if you have to ghost, I feel like that's probably the best way. Like, if you really can't just be clear, have a straight up conversation or written communication or whatever, if you gotta ghost, I feel like that's the best way, guys. Anyway, um, excuse me, those are just my experiences with being ghosted. Uh, Definitely let me know what you guys think, and if you've been ghosted, how did it feel? And like I said, I'm not excusing myself because I've definitely done it, but I don't do it that much anymore. All right, bye.